may be kind of confusing to know which quadratic equation solving method to use. So I thought I'd do a little video on how I decide to do that. Here we have 4 quadratic equations, and you can see that I put all of them in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Because when you're analyzing these, you want to know what's going on. So I drew a yes on here because this one has a 2 numbers that multiply together to equal 10 and that add together to equal 7. And that makes this the easiest one to do. You just write down those. Notice that you need to have an a equals 1 for this to work. But this is the fastest, easiest one, and it's one most often used in math classes. Most of your problems will go here. So it's a really great one to practice a lot. After that, I'm going to look at these. I'm looking at this top one. There are no 2 numbers that multiply together to equal 19 and add to negative 12. So that's not going to work. I'm looking at either the quadratic formula or completing the square. B is even here, so completing the square is going to be a lot easier and faster than the quadratic formula. Watch how easy this is. We take half of the negative 12 and write it in a squared format like that, and then put the 19 on the other side of the equation, add negative 6 squared to the other side. You're almost done. So this one's really super fast. If b is even, if you're good with fractions like I am, I would do this with an odd b as well. That would work equally fine, but you do run into some fractions if b is odd, right? And you get this funky answer, and that's okay. The one below that, the 14x squared, man, that is nasty. I don't want to do anything with that. A does not equal 1, so I'd have to divide by that to complete the square. I'm going to quadratic formula that one. The last one's kind of interesting. A lot of students are really good at the AC method. If you're one of those, use it. It works great. It does take a while. If you're not, quadratic formula works fine on this. You can also divide everything by 2 and then complete the square. Completing the square requires that a equals 1. So you'd have some fractions going on there. Right? So hopefully that gives you some idea of how to start. But do look at this pink one. That's the easy one. It's the one you're most often going to see. As far as the quadratic formula goes, you should know that a lot of mistakes get made when using the quadratic formula. Statistically, it is the most likely to be wrong, get a wrong answer. It's just people forget parts of it. They don't divide the whole thing by 2a, just part of it, or they square a negative number and get a negative number. There's just all kinds of arithmetic mistakes that can be made with that one. So if you have a choice between completing the square and quadratic formula, I would always go with completing the square. Not always, but most of the time. Otherwise, it works, but practice it till you really have it down cold and can do it consistently correctly. All right, that's it. Thanks.